Hello, I'm going to give a little tour of my garden. So this is the back garden, and when we moved here in the middle of March, it was entirely weedy grass. It was a lawn. And this is the first bed that was made by putting cardboard down on the weedy grass and then 5 centimetres of compost. So that's the bed that we made. First of all, this went in middle of April and so on. I've now made 4 beds here, and there's one more to make which we haven't done yet. And it's been really productive, considering the beds have only been here for a very short space of time. And what I'm doing at the moment are clearing some of the crops that have finished and planting more things. There are some problems though with the garden which are entirely what I would have expected here. The gardens haven't really been maintained for a few years now, so all the slugs and snails in Wales moved in, and now they're really excited because, as far as they're concerned, I've laid on a buffet for them. So the key pests here are the things I would expect, which are slugs and snails and woodlice, particularly because this beautiful area over here, which is a wild bank adjacent to the field next door, it's fantastic for wildlife, and it's beautiful with flowers and all kinds of plants, but there's lots of nooks and crannies for slugs and snails. So I'll be reducing habitat here for them and hoping they stay over there. But for the first year, it's always a bit tricky when you're setting up a garden. The courgettes, they have this mildew on. It's perfectly normal for the time of year. When things get very mildewy, I cut it off, and I'll take that one off as well. But it doesn't hurt the plant. It's more of a cosmetic thing, which is why I take them off. The beans here, most of them got eaten. These are gigantes beans, but there's some. I'll get some crop. This bed here has already produced lots and lots of food, and I'm just planting it out again with some winter brassicas, which I'll interplant with herbs, and I'm also putting in some agretti, which I've sprouted in little modules, and that's mostly so that it will go to seed and I'll have fresh agretti seed next year. Down here we've got mangel wurzels, which I'm growing to make wine with. The wine is superb, and in fact it's quite potent, and we have a word which is to be mangel-wurzled, which is when you've drunk a few glasses of the wine. My daughter is laughing because I think she has been mangel-wurzled. Different multi-sown beetroot. The peas have been cropping brilliantly. We've eaten lots and lots of those. There's more on the end that are still cropping, but gradually these are going to be cleared and there'll be more plants put in. We've got celery, main crop potatoes, quite a lot of tomatoes. All the tomatoes are outside because I've only had the Polytunnel a few weeks, which isn't ideal in West Wales, but I'll have some tomatoes. I've had very few ripe ones, but I'm hopeful that I'll have plenty of green ones for chutney, so all is not lost. It's not bad considering. We've got carrots here, which are intercropped with spring onions, and also a more agretti, if I can find it, down here. Which again, some of it's to eat and the rest I'll let go to seed. And this is something I used to do a lot of in one of the gardens that I managed. And we've got our own bank of lovely agretti seed, which just germinates a lot better than the seed you can buy. So I bought some, managed to get that to germinate, and now hopefully I'll be self-sufficient in agretti seed. These parsnips were sown much later than usual. They were sown in, let me get the month right, sort of end of May, early June. And this again, they were sown into a bed that had only just been made. So it was cardboard, then compost, only 5 centimetres. And looking at the leaves, it looks like they should have gone down really well. But I won't know what has happened until I harvest them, and it's a bit early for that yet. We have a wider path here because this is the main walkway from the back door to the orchard. Got leeks, they've got a bit of rust, which is a shame, but they'll grow through it. These are multi-sown leeks, and over here we have some that I planted out the other day, which I'm going to grow on sort of singly. And you'll notice they've been slugged. The Welsh slugs are very, very keen. Next to it are some bits of wood. Now these are the bits of wood that I've used when I've made the bed, just to hold things in place when I'm putting the compost down and hold the cardboard down, because it's a hill here and it's windy, as you can see. And I left them there, and all the slugs have moved underneath and they keep coming out. I planted a whole load of Florence fennel in this bed, and within 3 days it was all gone except for one. So today I'm moving all of the wood, so it's reducing habitat. This bit of lawn here needs mowing, and that's where the last bed is going to go. And you can see that we're still in the process of unpacking. It's certainly not a perfect garden here. The parsnips there, they went in April, so they've had longer to grow, and it will be interesting comparing them both later on when I harvest them. This is strawberries, protected with butterfly netting, because one of the pests new to me here are squirrels, and as soon as we get any ripe strawberries, the squirrels snaffle them. I'll just close this because we don't want any cabbage white butterflies getting in. So, very small greenhouse, lots of things waiting to go to different places. And if we go through here, this is the orchard. With more plants and things waiting to go to their homes. Trees that we brought from our old house. And these are the stumps. Sadly, these... woman just broke her leg. Here we have the fir trees, and it was 4 trees that sadly had to be cut down when we moved here. This one was so dangerous we couldn't even leave a stump, and this area is what we use for hanging hammocks from, and this is the area, kind of family fun area. We're going to use all of the wood chip and all of the timber from the trees. It's a shame to cut down trees, but they just weren't safe. And then we've got, down here is the hugulette, which is a kind of hugel that my son Rory made. I explained what to do and he made it. And I did it for this rhubarb, which I brought from my old house. It's Timperley early, and it is really, really early. It's an amazing rhubarb. I thought it would be quite happy there, and put the rest of this stuff in, not really expecting it to be okay, because this can be quite a slug habitat, and as you can see, it's done brilliantly. So it just goes to show things that you don't expect to work can work fantastically, including these little cucumbers, which I'm going to use for pickling. I've just got some dill growing on. And then here are beds where I've made using different kinds of mulches. And some of them have worked really well, and some have been a bit of a disaster. The main problem is creating the habitat around the outside with the wood, which I've done to hold everything in place. It's temporary, but all the slugs move underneath. So it's a big learning curve, really, working out how many slugs there are here, because my previous garden, I was there for 20 years. So I had the balance between what I wanted to grow and nature worked out really well. But the top bit here is a bed for asparagus, and then we've got potatoes there, and I'm amazed that there's been no blight yet, because it's really quite perfect weather conditions for blight. So fingers crossed, might get away with it. This bed is going to be planted out with winter things, probably garlic, and the squash has not been that great, partly because I put it in and then I went away to work at Hampton Court for 3.5 weeks, and although there was some rain, it kept it alive. The there wasn't really enough for them to get going, and the grass grew really long, so it became very sluggy and most of them got eaten. But never mind, you know, it's you win some, you lose some, really. At least I now have the polytunnel up, and if I just show you this, because I talk about it when I'm in the polytunnel, one of the jobs that needs doing. This is the skirt of polythene that is going to be dug in here, and that will prevent the weedy grass, which as you can see is full of creeping buttercups and all kinds of things. It'll stop it creeping in. This is where I'm going to be putting a guttering once I've made it. So the orchard is home to the squirrels. They are very, very keen to be here. And also jays. So I have squirrels and jays eating the apples. These are okay, maybe I'll get these. So it's a whole new learning experience. So this is a little tour of some of my garden and some of the beds that I have here.